I don't have any legal rights to my son Danny. This is just a messed up situation. I never wanted kids. I met a woman who felt the same until we got pregnant. 3 kinds of birth control failed. I've since gotten snipped. I agreed to sign away my paternal rights and pay child support until a partner adopted him, whomever that might be in the fullness of time. My parents insisted on being involved in his life. I was okay with it. He's a good kid most of the time. Unfortunately, life, or in this case, death happens. My ex passed away. She has no family, and she left Danny with my parents when he was a tween. My parents are old and are a huge reason why I never wanted a kid. Danny's mom was an okay parent, but pretty lenient. Going from that to my parents' perfectly curated house must have been a shock. He was okay for a while. He's in counselling. He's mid-teens now and as much of a pain in the butt as you can imagine a teen boy to be. 6 months ago, my parents threw him to the streets. They said he'd be going to military school if I didn't take him. I hated military school, so I took him in, all legal. My parents are his legal guardians, but I'm letting him live with me and trying to socialise him. He doesn't have it. He's trashed my home a couple of times. He refuses to do his chores or his schoolwork. He's just being a moron. I've been going to counselling with him for 6 months and it hasn't helped. I sat him down and told him flat out that if I had to deal with him wrecking my stuff, not cleaning up after himself or not doing his homework, I was going to talk to my parents and see if perhaps being under professional care would help his behaviour. He said I was an idiot and never a father, so why am I trying now? To be honest, I'm trying because I loved his mom. I know she grew up in foster care and would hate knowing that's where he ended up. Am I the idiot for telling my kid that if he can't behave I'll send him to military school? You are the idiot. OMG, this poor kid. He knows you never wanted him to the point that you signed away your rights. He lost the only real parent he ever knew as a child. He then ended up with your parents who didn't want him once the going got tough, and then he ended up with you, who he knows didn't want him even when things were good. He's been through nothing but abandonment and loss, and he's only a younger teen. To me, OP clearly doesn't love or want his son. That's how he feels, and you can't judge him for his feelings. It's not like he made a child on purpose and dumped him. I do feel sorry for the kid, but there shouldn't be a case where he gets a free pass. Mainly so that even grandparents who wanted him couldn't deal with him. The kid is old enough to take responsibility for his actions. OP is doing much more than he signed up for despite his own feelings, so I would cut him some slack. He's not the idiot. LOL, he's a mid-teen. He's a child. He's not old enough to take responsibility for his own actions for another 4 years. 2 years minimum. I get it. I'm child-free and that's the way to be. But if I accidentally created a life and couldn't handle it before birth, I would be there because it's not their fault I messed up. You have to be patient with kids. They're monsters, but they are becoming the people they're going to be. OP, you are the idiot. He is just being a moron. Really? You're dealing with a traumatized kid who you don't like, and you expect him to behave like a non-traumatized angel? You and your parents are going to screw up this kid. Foster care? Yeah, he probably would be better off. He might find some people who actually want what's best for him. Military school? What the heck? Everyone has failed this child. Instead of threatening him, did you consider stepping up? He's dealing with grief and loss. He also knows that you don't want him. His behavior is a reflection of how he feels on the inside. My heart breaks for this kid. Counseling isn't a magic wand. You have to do more. In so many ways, this is your responsibility. My 25 male family got stuck at an airport. I was able to get a room at the airport hotel and my sister was able to get another. There aren't any other ones available and everyone wants to stay at the airport to be close in case the situation with our flight changes. My room has 2 beds, so I offered the other one to my brother and his girlfriend who couldn't get a room. My sister's room also has 2 beds. She and her husband have 4 kids though, all teenagers. The hotel only has 1 roll-away bed available. So, with her and her husband in 1 bed, 2 of the kids in the 2nd bed and a 3rd kid on the rollaway, that left 1 kid without a bed. Since I otherwise had a bed, my sister thought I should share mine with my niece. I didn't want to because I don't like sharing a bed. I just don't feel comfortable with it. I think one of the kids could just sleep on the floor, but that apparently is disgusting. I won't disagree that hotel room floors are gross, but they could lay down a blanket so she's not directly on the floor. Am I the idiot for not sharing my bed in a hotel with my niece? I'm sorry, but as a parent of 2 kids, with healthy boundaries but also a warm, loving relationship, and as much as I hate being cramped in bed, why can't the parents sleep with the youngest, smallest child in bed? We still get our kids crashed from time to time during our weekend nap time. I get to complain about it, but not really. You are not the idiot. As a parent, I would not ask another family member to share a bed with my daughter. It was kind of you to share a room in the first place. Being expected to share a bed is out of line. In tough times, prioritize kindness over comfort. A blanket on the floor is a small sacrifice for ensuring everyone has a bed, especially for family. Yeah, no. I wouldn't be comfortable sharing a bed with my niece. Why isn't dad or mom taking the floor instead of one of the kids? They're making their kids your problem when it is definitely their problem. I wonder why any other solution wasn't put forward here. One of the boys could have been suggested to share the bed with an uncle instead of a gal. As an adult man, I wouldn't be comfortable sleeping with a teen girl in my bed, even if she was my niece. I'd volunteer for the dad to sleep in my bed and the mom and daughter could share if 100% necessary, but apparently that didn't occur to anyone in the family. They all expected you to pay for the room and sleep on the floor. For a while now, my husband John has been getting increasingly angry over little things and is generally moody and distant. I'd finally had enough and approached him about separation. This conversation led to a big blowout and him revealing the state of his finances. My husband and I have always kept our finances separate. Also, although we call each other husband and wife and had a wedding, we're not actually legally married. This was primarily for inheritance purposes because we each have older children from previous relationships. Anyway, John revealed that he basically had no savings left. All the money he'd saved for retirement and for his kids' schooling was gone. Furthermore, he said it was all my fault since he used all his savings to try and keep up with my lifestyle. There was never anything crazy about bills or anything like that, and we always split it all equally. I own the house we live in outright as well, so there wasn't a mortgage payment. However, I've always liked travelling on pretty extravagant vacations. I would invite John or John and his children to join on trips, but I never made them feel like they had to come. That said, he was expected to pay for himself and for his kids. Except recently, he has accepted every invitation. I would also give my kids things he considered extravagant, but I considered normal, so he felt like he had to provide similar things to his own kids. John said that with all the spending to keep up, his savings dwindled very fast. I expressed that I couldn't understand how or why he would spend all he had when he knew he couldn't afford it. He said it was like keeping up with the Joneses, only worse because it was at home so he couldn't block it out. Since I knew his job, John thinks that I should have had a basic understanding of his finances and realised this wasn't a lifestyle he could maintain. The kind thing would have been to offer to pay for the trips and other things instead of dangling them in front of his and his kids' faces. Looking back, I probably could have realised that this spending didn't make sense for his salary, but I wasn't thinking about it. I don't think it was my responsibility to keep his finances in mind here. We'd agreed from the beginning to keep our finances separate, so to me that means paying for things separately. Am I the idiot for not offering to pay for my husband and his kids and making him broke? Edit, we do not live in a state with common law marriage. Not the idiot, so he's blaming his poor decisions on you. What on earth? He couldn't use his voice to raise concerns when finances were an issue. That's on him for keeping up with the Joneses to the point that he liquidated his children's education funds. You housed him and his children rent-free. If he wasn't comfortable with your lifestyle, he should have talked to you like an adult, instead of trying to keep up and sinking himself financially. John blew through his finances all on his own because his fragile ego couldn't deal with you having more money than him. I agree with this wholeheartedly. If he can complain about it now, one wonders why he couldn't say anything then. Also, the BS of trying to keep up with her. I would have said long ago that I was running out of money. Pride can be a foolish thing. There's something so cringe about an adult unable to take responsibility for their choices. She's housing him for free. I disagree. It's called a family home. She's not his landlord. Everyone's the idiot here. You sound like friends with benefits. This situation highlights the destructive impact of financial miscommunication in relationships. The failure to align expectations and understand each other's financial limits has led to a painful and avoidable situation. I think you should get divorced because you don't want to be part of each other's lives, except for inheritance purposes. You both screwed this up. Look at how many people think it's entirely appropriate to pretend that it's perfectly acceptable not to understand each other's finances as a family. It's crazy to me how many people will willingly ignore that. I completely agree everyone's the idiot here. They're roommates who have intimacy, I guess. Zero communication when it comes to income and expenses. Not understanding how having an inheritance plan allows them to be married is pretty ignorant as well. It seems like an excuse to stay acquainted, really. OP, your idea that you should go on extravagant vacations while he stays home is also a major idiot move. That is not a committed relationship. It's the same with the treatment of children. You both should have communicated better. Now you're ending a relationship because you couldn't be adults about communicating. I, 25 female, worked for a university from 18 to 21. For many years I felt university wasn't for me, as although I had good grades, my self-esteem was pretty low, and I thought I wasn't good enough for university and I couldn't even afford it. I worked as an assistant for various departments, and many of my colleagues who taught students said they could see my potential, and they finally encouraged me to apply. I decided to apply to the university and got in, and I was accepted onto 4 scholarships that are designed for students with lots of potential, so I no longer had to worry about applying for student loans and not being able to afford them. Last year, I was meant to be in my final year of university, and I should have graduated, but a student was making up rumours about me and this lecturer having an affair, which didn't happen. The university soon picked up on these rumours and started its own investigation. At first, the lecturer and I had to stay separated, which meant I missed half the classes, as she was one of 2 teaching me that year. 2 months later, the lecturer got suspended with full pay, and 5 days later, the university sent me an email to my personal email account and told me that I was being suspended and that I wasn't allowed on university grounds and that I wasn't allowed to contact anyone at university. The staff who was investigating these rumours fully believed that we were having an affair, and we were suspended for 9 months so they could find evidence of our affair. As a result of them taking 9 months, I ended up failing the final year, and now I have to retake it. While suspended, these rumours about the affair spread around the campus fast, and everyone knew. I had a friend who I now consider my best friend, who made contact under a secret Snapchat account. He asked for my account, and he said he fully believed me and started doing his own investigation to find out who it was. I'm running out of word count. To keep it short, after speaking to various students, he finally found evidence that a student had made up the rumours and started and reported it to the university. He found concrete evidence and took it to the investigation team, and they closed the report and allowed us back to campus. But the student didn't get suspended or punished. All she was made to do was retake the 3rd and final year, and she had to pay for it, whereas I didn't. Now I'm in class with her and she struggles a lot. She keeps requesting my help because I always understand the assignments and the fact I know what to do. She's fed up with me saying no and spoke to our former classmates, and now they're saying I'm an idiot because I'm keeping a grudge against her because of what she did and the fact I nearly lost a degree, which I haven't, and they're stating I should help her out. Am I the idiot for refusing to help her when she nearly cost me a degree and a teacher her career? Holy crap! She endangered your education and career as well as the professors. She cost you a year. It's nuts she'd expect anything from you. Clearly she doesn't understand the impact of her actions. I tell her never to speak to me again, or I go to your university and report her harassment. Not the idiot, but why was no action taken against the student? She should be nowhere near you. You're a better person than me, OP. With all that happened to you, I would have looked into legal action and ensured the student was banned from campus. Do not interact with her or help her in any way. What? Wow, what a story. I'm very sorry for you. This person is objectively dangerous. Stay away for your safety. Think of the most neutral way to say that she really messed you over and it's just a practical matter to stay away. There's no need to be nasty. It's sensible. How quickly the truth of that sinks in is not your concern. My husband and I had his sister and her family staying with us for a month while repairs were carried out on their house. Sister-in-law has 3 kids, a kindergartner, a pre-tween and a tween. My husband and I have 2 kids, a pre-tween and a preschooler. My sister-in-law and I work from home, so we were both home all day when she stayed with us. So here's what happened. She asked if I would cook for all the kids versus each of us cooking for our respective kids. I told her sure, but explained to her how my kids eat and wanted to know whether she wanted them on the same schedule or whether she wanted a typical 3-meal deal. She said to feed them 3 meals. For context on how I feed my kids, we do smaller meal sizes but eat more often, so pre-meal snacks are big in our family. Seconds are also a thing if we have a hungry day. I also try to mix in a lot of different choices week to week so food is still enjoyable. I know her kids' likes and dislikes with food, so I considered those when making food, but the kids didn't want to eat the stuff I was making. They were upset it wasn't pizza or burgers, or they were upset about tacos I make at home versus takeout ones. The kids dug in their heels and said I needed to give them the food they wanted. I told sister-in-law and she would go feed them. Then she got mad that I hadn't given them the food they wanted. I asked her if she wanted to take over feeding her kids and she said no. It got to the point where the kids stopped coming to the table at meal times. Since sister-in-law was aware of this, I just let it go because I felt like she would make them come to the table if she was upset by them not eating much. They were in the office with her sometimes when we were eating. The day they were going back home, she turned to me and told me that I should be ashamed of myself for letting her kids go without food. My husband told her she was here the whole time and should have done more. He also pointed out we did them a favor and she was acting very ungrateful. A couple of weeks later, she sent me a text saying yes again I should be ashamed and how could I refuse to accommodate children. I told sister-in-law it wasn't my job to make her kids eat and that I'd communicated with her while this was ongoing, but she ignored me and expected me to bend over backward for them. She accused me of cruelty to kids and told me I was an idiot for thinking it wasn't my job to make sure children under my roof were eating enough. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You did make them meals, but the kids didn't eat because they wanted fast food. What more can you do? Your sister-in-law's job is to feed them if they don't eat. You are not her kid's restaurant worker. Next time she can go mooch off another family member, living rent-free, making zero effort to contribute and still demanding what the host should feed her kids. Girl, bye. She wanted a vacation from cooking for her kids but criticized you when it wasn't working and refused to step in. Your sister-in-law is one of those, give her an inch and she'll scream at you because you didn't also hand over the next 10 miles without complaining. She's the idiot here. She's not appreciative that she was able to stay at your house rent-free instead of at an Airbnb or hotel where she would have to figure out meals for her kids. Choosy beggars are the worst. Oh well, you know not to bother doing them a favor again.